Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach NRL channel. In today's video, something a bit different. We're going to have a bit of a talk about the upcoming Origin period and how to, I guess, try and navigate the buys and maybe some strategies around that. And I guess to start with, I'm going to use my team as a bit of a template and just talk about some of the things that I think are good and maybe not so good about it. And then start to look at, well, how do we get through the buys. So um, for those that do have access to all the Supercoach Gold stuff, whether you just pay for that or you have a subscription through um, all the news sites, I've gone with Code Sports just because I do like some of their extra content around Supercoach. Not sponsored or anything crazy like that. Just not even giving them a plug. Actually, just that's what I do. But one of the things they've got here is actually access, so you can see who's playing at a glance, and basically it'll just grey out the players that aren't available because of the buys in round 13, 16, 19. So you can go through and sort of eyeball it. Um, yeah, so you can see like I've got Robson. Obviously, I won't have Haas. He'll play for New South Wales, but I've got the other three front rowers. Ford and Schuster. So Ford should be back from his head knock. Schuster, who knows what's going on with his quad. Hopefully he's available for round 13. That'd be nice. But then the two 5'8s, four centre wings, and Turbo's playing Origin, you'd assume. Um, has been a weird rumour that maybe he'll be edged out by the Fox and Brian Toto on the wings, and then Latrell and Stephen Crichton in the centres. I honestly, can't see him not fitting in there somewhere. So we're not really including him in the round 13 chat. Um, the other way you can see this really quickly too, though, is again if you have the Supercoach Gold, is a team analysis down here, and so it actually tells you that you've got 11 out of 25 players on the buy. So that means I have 14 sort of lit up here. But obviously, if you take out Haas and Turbo, that gives me 12. Um, so you can see the other rounds I'm doing quite well. So only 9 on the buy, so 16 available in round 16. But if we look at that list, that does include Grant, does include Hines, does include Cleary, and does include Turbo. So, you add another 4 to that, and we're down to 12 available for that round. Round 19 is actually pretty nice. I'm pretty sure the only one I miss out on is Nico Hines. So I have 14 available for round 19, but there's a long way to go. We probably want to make sure we've got 13 for all rounds. I feel like I might have jumped the gun there. That's the other thing I should have mentioned is that in those big buy rounds, so 13, 16, 19, it is best 13 only. So you don't need to try and get 17 players in for each round. You can have 17 players picked. You still pick a 17, but only the top 13 scores count. So, if you have the 17 that includes like Wiramu, Greg, Paul Alamotti, chances are those scores will drop off first, unless they obviously go big. So it is good to have 17, but if you have 17 in any one round, it probably impacts your ability to get 17 in the other rounds. Or if you have 17 in all three rounds, it's probably going to chew into your trades a lot. So the Origin period, I think, is a good opportunity to try and save some trades, and then get to your full strength side as quickly as possible. Sort of between the second and third buy is usually when I start to think about that. Um, with the goal being, by the last buy, you've pretty much got your full team built, ready to go. And then the rest of your trades are just covering injuries and crazy dips in form and that sort of thing. All right, so that gives you a bit of an idea of your trades. Sorry, your buy coverage and how you're going. And like I said, with the best 13, I guess the big headline is there's probably not as much planning as in the past where you had to try and get close to 17 each week, whether that was 15 or 14. But yeah, having a set thing of you only have to really only have 13 each week does make things a bit less stressful, I think. But I guess for those that are a bit old school or a bit tight perhaps and don't want to pay for SuperCoach, which fair enough, that's your call. It's free to play and probably should be kept that way. You can go the spreadsheet option. So I've done one up, and everyone has a different sort of style, but this is what I've gone with. It's a bit colourful. Um, so what I've done is sort of just grouped the teams based on their bye coverage. So the Eels obviously play the three big bye rounds, so they get their own nice colour, which is just great. Cowboys, Knights, and Seagulls, they all play the first two bye rounds, so I put them as blue. Uh, so Dolphins, Dragons, Rabbitohs, Raiders, Warriors all play the first and the last bye. So it was a bit of an interesting thing when I did the analysis of it. So you got yellow for them. Bulldogs, Sharks, and Tigers. So they don't play round 13, but they do play the other two. So that sort of is a nice coverage as well. The Broncos, they play round 13 and not the other two bye rounds. Penrith, Roosters, and Storm play in the middle, but not 13 or 19. And the Titans don't play 13 or 16, but do play in round 19. So I guess the colouring there, I've gone the Broncos in green because they sort of blend well with these two. So, you play Broncos players in round 13, and then if you can switch them to one of these guys, you've got that position covered for all three bye rounds. Same deal with the Titans. So Cowboys, Knights, and Sea Eagles. You play them the first two bye rounds, then you flip to a Titans player for round 19. So, and I guess I could have done something similar with these guys, but the yellow and red, there's no such thing as a dark yellow. I don't think. Maybe a brown, but that's just a light brown, red, whatever, salmon. I don't know. I'm not good with colours, but it's just to help differentiate. So, I go in and I've put my team in so the way it is stacked up at round 11. So I have included that Max Vernay's in for Tyrell Sloan. But obviously, playing for the same team, they had the same coverage anyway. If I was to magically reverse it, which I won't. um, Famous last words there. So, yeah, so I put all the players in, put the colours in, and then you just grab it and drag it across. You'll notice that I've blacked out 5 players, so Grant, Haas, Cleary, Hines, and Turbo. And so essentially, I'm assuming that they're playing Origin, so they don't come into any of my calculations on any given round. All right, and so then down here, I've got my numbers, so 12, 12, 14. So 12 is assuming Schuster plays in round 13. 12 currently in the middle round, and um, if Fafita plays, it's 14. If it's 13, if Fafita gets selected for Origin. He's the most likely out of the others that on the fringe there. I think other than that, I don't really have any fringe players at all. And sort of, I guess, sort of partly through a bit of planning, but just a bit of good luck perhaps too. So one other thing to consider as well, and maybe a few people are skipping this, loading up, make sure you want 15, 15, 15. Loading up on players from like these other clubs that do have good bye coverage, is that there's actually 3 teams in round 14 and round 17 that have the bye. So it's the Eels, the Eagles, and the Knights in round 14. So I've got 4 of those guys. So through Schuster, Turbo, Brown, and Greg. So it means I've only got a pool of 21 to select from in that week with the 17. And also because it's post Origin, Grant might get a break, or Payne Haas might get a break. I mean, they usually don't, but it's just something to consider that perhaps that is the case. And same thing in round 17. As it turns out, it's the 3 teams, Dogs, Sharks, Tigers, that have the round play 16 and 19. They just all happen to be off in round 17. So I currently have four of them as well. So Nakora, Preston, Alamotti, and Buller. So just something I need to be mindful of, and I'm just thinking now in my sort of plans, I might not have thought that through 100%. But we'll have a look at that in just a second. Yeah, so that gives you a bit of an overview of where you're at. And then what you can do is you can start to make some plans around, well, what are my trades going to be? So if I go over to the next page, I guess the obvious sort of ones for next week, or I can wait till around 13 perhaps. But I guess it's more of a case of maybe wanting to get in early on Lachlan Miller. And part of that comes down to the fact that C&K will be on the bye next week. So it will be a premium centre wing option down. So I can go one up, one down on Alamotti Taruva to bring in Tafare. A week early on him admittedly, but we'll roll the dice on that. And we're assuming he will get picked in round 12. And then Lachlan Miller will upgrade, get that extra gun in the centre wing position. So Miller's coverage is good, playing 13 and 16, which helps. Tafari plays 13 but not 16. So what we find after that is we end up with 14 here. We end up with 13 in round 16 because we get Miller, which is one. We do lose the two coverages of Alamotti and Taruba. And then we still have 14 in the last round because Tafari plays, Alamotti would have played. Miller doesn't play, but Taruba wouldn't have played anyway. All right. So then, I guess thinking about how can we then maximize this going into rounds 19. I've already talked about the fact that I do want to target Kiraz, and I think C&K to Kiraz is a good swap. So that'll get us an extra number in round 16, as well as obviously keeping a playing number in round 19. And the other one I thought is maybe if I need to fund that, I could go down from Katoa to Oluwapu, but the more I think about it, I don't think I need that so much because I think this is going to be a pretty much a cash neutral swing. Um, so yes, maybe we bring back Katoa, and obviously this trade can happen anywhere in even round 14, 15, and we'll be okay. Um, so yes, I guess the reason why I just wanted to get out of the Oluwapu pick, even though that might be about the time he is starting to start matches and he could really start to rise in cash, is because of the round 17 buy. Then have 1, 2, 3, 3 if that was Oluwapu 4, 5. So I'd have 5 out, which is 20. Not the worst in the world, but if a couple of the Origin guys get rested, injuries, all that sort of thing. So, I think it's just going to be something like this. And then in the last round, we've still got 14, I'm pretty sure. So we take out the 5 Origin guys. Robson's out, so what's that, 6? Um, no, they're in, that's fine. Schuster's out, so I'm up to 7. Peachy's out 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so 14. So, if I can avoid it, I know this is idealistic. Make those 2 trades next week. After the bye, whenever C&K is ready to go to Carraz, we'll make that move. That's 3 trades in the Origin period. And we've got enough coverage for those big buy rounds. And, we're still safe in those other rounds where, there's still buys happening. So, I think the takeaway from this is there's not as much stress anymore about buy coverage and buy planning. Obviously, if you can get more than 14, it means you're not relying on a Wirram or Greg to score you points. But if you've got him and he manages to spike in one of those weeks, well, you get his points. Happy days. Yeah, and so I guess if you are in a worse situation than me, you might have to start thinking about like you've loaded up on a couple of teams that don't play in round 13 or whatever, you might be a bit stressed. But in that case, you could always look at an option like what I'm doing with the Bulldog project. And if I was smart, I would have actually done the numbers on this too. But because I've got so many Bulldogs players and Origin players and that sort of thing selected in the team, I'm thinking we don't even worry about round 13 and we just try to go hard on round 16 and 19. Have, 15, 16 good players to choose from so that, even if there's an injury, a HIA, we're still getting a really good score for that round and boosting our overall rank that way. But yeah, I guess it's just something to consider. Make sure you have that good balance of players, which, I sort of, like I said, was part by design, part accident. But, things could always change. Like, for example, Robson could play for New South Wales. Fafita is a good chance of playing for Queensland, but that's not a big issue given he's got those buys anyway. Um, yeah, I think, they're probably the two I would worry about the most. Schuster might not get up with this quad injury or re-injure himself or whatever. you know, um, Fiernay, he's probably not a hold. Ideally, somehow this would happen. C and K could stay in the team. I don't see it happening, but that would be lovely if he could. If Fiernay could make us a stack of cash over the next few weeks. But yeah, like I said, it's just a good opportunity to see where you're at, um, and yeah, just come up with a bit of an idea around what you need to do. I'm quite fortunate; I don't need to do much, and I think for most people that is going to be the case. But I guess it's still something you don't want to get caught short with 9, 10, 11 during one week because I think that really will hurt overall. All right, but yeah, so in terms of the players to target, that's probably the other thing to look at as well. Um, so I guess if we go position by position, obviously I've got Robson. I think that's a really good shout. And what you could even do is start with Robson and then get yourself into Reed Marnie. So um, I should actually, what I might do just to make it look nicer is a bit of that. so it's not going to like that in Excel, is it? All right, we won't do that. Can't work the cells. Just colour it out. So yeah, so you could start with Reece Robson like what I've got, and I mean, like I could even do the flip Robson to Marnie, um, and if I had Grant and Marnie at the end of the season, I'd be pretty stoked. So that might be a move that I potentially make. Um, if you've got like a Jeremy Marshall King, I think he's another good option during the buys. Obviously a bit more expensive, but if you can afford him, well worth it. So I guess I'll put him in there too. Jeremy Marshall King, good option for the buys. It's just going to colour them all up. So in terms of the front row forward position, so I guess that's part of the reason why I've gone with Tarpany and Tohu Harris is, they play two of the three bye rounds. Being New Zealand representatives as well, they're no chance of getting picked for Origin. All right, I guess if we look at the Robson and Marnie there on the fringes, probably next man up for New South Wales and Queensland respectively. Another reason why JMK is such a great option as the New Zealand number 9, or can play number 9 for New Zealand. I think Brandon Smith might be. um, but yeah, these two are good options. And then, if you wanted to trade after this week, again, there's going to be a bit of a theme with the teams, but I think Max King is a really good trade-in option after round 13 because he plays 16, 19, is a very consistent scorer for the Dogs. Um, I guess as well, if you got like the Dragons as well and the Dolphins, it could be Gilbert. Like Gilbert could be in the Origin team. So I guess if you want something right out of the box, I'd maybe go for Jack Bellin. Maybe. But, again, not my first pick. I'd have these guys over Jack de Belin. So into the second row spot, and I think the number one target, assuming he doesn't play Origin, is Ryan Madison. Yeah, he can stay dark blue. That's whatever. Um, yeah, playing for Parramatta means that he'll play in all the bye rounds. So if he's not playing Origin, that's good. If he is, it actually makes it a bad buy, and we'll talk about some bad buys in a minute too. Um, and yeah, so Madison number one on the list. Other gun options for sort of round 13. Uh, just looking through the list of teams that are playing. So obviously, Tarpany and Tohu fit into this category too. I should have added, and Max King. Um, but I guess another one, and there's a few of them all sort of in the same boat. But Tyson Frizzell, so I guess if you think about him from the Knights, Ola Kawatu is the other one from the Sea Eagles. If he doesn't end up playing Origin, Ola, I can't remember how to spell his name. Ola Kawatu. No, that's not it. Ola, no. Hamole. There we go. I might be able to spell that. So I guess if these guys aren't picked for Origin, they're going to be really handy at that front end of the series. And then the back end, so I think Nikora or even Teague Wilton from the Sharks are good shouts. I guess, to plump up the Bulldogs. Jacob Preston looks really good too if you're looking for a cheaper option. Or if you want to go a real wild card, it could be Isaiah Papali'i from the Tigers. Obviously hasn't set the world on fire yet, but you never know. With the Tigers turnaround in form the last couple of weeks, could be the ultimate pod shout. Into the halves, and as you can see, I've got Cleary and Hines, and I'm holding them the whole time. And honestly, I can't suggest anything different. Um, obviously, you're not going to get anything out of them round 13, 16, or 19. But that's okay. You only need 13, so you can get substitutes in other positions to play. I think if you try to bring in someone like Sean Johnson, for example, or a Moses, you're going to get outscored badly in the weeks where you've not got Cleary and Hines. So 14, 15, 17, 18, although Hines won't play 17, I suppose. Moses won't play 14 anyway. So I think Moses has got to buy around 18 as well with the Eels. So yeah, I mean if you absolutely desperate to play a halfback during that time, they're your two options really. Um, but yeah, I don't see how they in the long run are better than Cleary and Hines. So at 5'8", the obvious one is Dylan Brown. That's why I brought him in. Sweet Origin bye coverage. New Zealand representative, so no chance of Origin. But I guess the other one, which you could look at um, potentially, and this is a big question mark, Kalen Ponga. So probably not going to play fullback this year. Looks like Reece Walsh is going to get the job for Queensland. I'd probably have Ponga on a wing still, but there's a chance that maybe he just misses altogether. Which in that case he'd be a really good point of difference for round 13, 16. And then assuming he doesn't play Origin, Matt Burton, I think his versatility means he's going to play on the bench. Um, how they swing that if they're going to run with the two hookers remains to be seen. But if he's not playing, he's the obvious pick as after round after round 13. If you can afford to go up from Katoa or someone like that to him, it could be a really good pick. Playing halfback now, so you're getting him out of position at 5'8", getting really involved in all the Bulldogs' attack. Yeah, it's just whether he plays Origin or not. Um, yeah, I don't really rate Wakeham or Moylan from the Sharks to the Tigers, so we won't stress about that. Centre wing. So I guess, centre wing, just like it is throughout the season, is an opportunity to make all sorts of points and stuff. So, if you haven't got Garrick, Miller, I think they're the two obvious ones. Um, you know, both goal kickers. Miller plays fullback. Garrick could fill in at fullback, although they seem to be going with KO Weeks just to sort of plug the hole when Turbo's out. Um, so yeah, so if you don't have those two, I think absolutely get on. Um, yeah, Cowboys. There's no major threats. Obviously, the gun at the Cowboys is Val Holmes, but surely he's playing for Queensland, so not much point investing in him. But then after round 13, as I said, the number one target I think is Jacob Kiros. His price should bottom out nicely. We know he likes to run, break tackles, offload. If the Bulldogs can find a bit more spark in attack, he'll score tries. Um, to be fair, Avarillo's been doing well on that right edge, and it seems to be where they're going a lot and having success. So, we can expect Kiros to get onto that. And also, you've got the likes of Ronaldo, Mulatalo from the Sharks, Talakai. You could put any of the Sharks back line in this category just because of their crazy ability to score points. Um, but yeah, they're probably the top two. I'd target Ronaldo number one, Talakai number two. Not that I think I will go either of them over Kiraz, but if you are looking for that buy coverage upside option, that's the way you could go. And then into the fullbacks. So, if you're brave, Gutho, I think he's too inconsistent for me, but the buy coverage means he is probably the best option at fullback. Um, Not that I'll be worried. I'm going to hold Turbo and Buller, I think, throughout the Origin break. Um, Other options, so other teams that play early, maybe Drinkwater from the Cowboys if you're looking to go a bit different. And then you could convert Drinkwater maybe into. You could still go Buller, I think, would be okay. Or the other option, which is probably if you're going to swing your fullbacks, so I might actually swap that around, is Will Kennedy. So, similar sort of pricing and, similar sort of ability to go off in a game. Um, and yeah, I guess sort of like what we talked about with the Sharks back line, Kennedy can go big at any point in time. So if you are looking for a bit of a swing at fullback, Drinkwater into Kennedy, I think is a pretty good option. But yeah, I mean, those are the players I'd sort of think about targeting if you are looking for buy specific players. In terms of players to avoid, we'll try to do one for each position as well. Um, and a lot of this is going to come down to origin players that have, from these teams. So if you think about, the Rabbitohs, for example, are going to play round 13, round 19. Cook's going to miss those if he's playing Origin. Plus, he's going to miss another two bye games. So he's going to miss a total of 4 games. Coming up, other players are only going to miss one, two, in some cases, just depending how the bye schedule works out. Um, I guess a team like Penrith, for example, they've already had their first bye. So Cleary doesn't play 13, doesn't play 16 when the Panthers play, doesn't play 19, but plays every other game. So, players like Cook are going to miss out more than players like Cleary. So if we are looking for someone to avoid, I'd go towards Damien Cook. Not the worst shout by any stretch. If you've got Cook, like I've got Grant and I'm happy to hold him. I think I probably didn't mention this explicitly earlier, but when you do the numbers and you can see your mine was sort of fairly evenly balanced, it looks like 5 is about the magic number of Origin players you can carry through. So they're my 5: Grant, Haas, Cleary, Hines, Turbo. For me, they're the 5 that are going to score the most, particularly, Haas at front row, these two at halfback. Grant's the number one hooker at the moment, and we all know what Turbo's upside can be. So I'm happy to hold them. I don't think I could carry any more sort of origin locked in players like a Tino, for example, or Brian Toto, those sort of players. They're obviously good to target post origin, but I can't carry them through that period. Um, so, yeah, so Cook's the obvious one there at the hooker. I'd say obvious. Is it really that obvious? Um, in terms of front row forwards, uh, I guess someone like Jake Travojevic, if you've got him, he's not the most popular option, um, but I guess still someone that we could consider to be uh, hard to carry because of the buys. Manly did have their first buy early, which does help. So he's got one buy out of the way. Um, which I guess a few of these teams have. It's probably the Cowboys and that don't. So maybe someone like a Ruben Cotter is probably a better shout there. So if you've got him, I'm not necessarily saying trade out, but don't look at bringing him in because the Cowboys still haven't had that buy yet. Um, and if he is playing Origin, he won't play 13 or 16 anyway. So you'll miss out on those two games plus two other buys. The other one actually that I was going to mention is the front row. Now I think about Junior Paulo. So the Eels play all three bye rounds, which is great. Unless you're Junior Paulo, probably a good shout to play in the front row for New South Wales. So he misses all three plus their three buys that they haven't had yet. So 6 games out of the rest of the season means that Paulo's automatically not going to score as much as other players in the position. So in the second row, so if he is picked, so we've got Madison in both categories here. This really just comes down to if he's in the team or not. If he is in the team, he's an avoid. If he isn't in the team, he is the number one target. It's as simple as that. So that's why I'd wait till round 13 if you haven't got him yet, bring him in. If you have, you can hold, and if you do need to get rid of in round 13, you could sideways him to Hopgood. So we'll include Hopgood in this conversation. No, sorry, he should be in this conversation. So I put Hopgood as a good pick in the second row. Or you could even look to like Sean Lane, Bryce Cartwright sort of thing. If you just wanted to have that Eels coverage. But the other one, Cam Murray. So he's sliding in price anyway. His form's been a bit down, but he is a shoe-in for New South Wales and plays for South. So, as we've already discussed, not the best for Origin players and their buy coverage. Into the halves, and so I guess again, it's hard to say not to pick one, but DCE is the obvious shout here. He's not going to play 13 or 16 anyway. Um, not going to play 19 with Origin, and then there's another buy. But like we said, Manly's already had one. Um, I guess, um, yeah, Hines and Cleary have already had one, so we'll just put DCE there as an Origin no buy, guaranteed to play 7 for Queensland. Don't buy him if you haven't got him. The 5/8s, so I guess the obvious one is Munster just because he's playing Origin. Um, After that, I mean, maybe Cody Walker if he gets picked for New South Wales. It might be a case of Hines somehow makes his way onto the bench, which, yeah, I don't know why they would do that. Walker's been in good form, but if he's picked, then he instantly becomes a void. But, we're really clutching at straws there, I think, with, yeah, Munster's buy coverage isn't that bad because the Storm have already had one buy, and the other two are those Origin games anyway. Yeah, so there's not really much to talk about there, I don't think. But centre wings we probably could talk about. Um, so Val Holmes is obviously one. You know, 2 buy games that he's not playing because of Origin. Campbell Graham, if he gets in, is a bit of an origin avoid with the Rabbitohs draw. You can see a bit of a pattern here. It's South Cowboys, Rabbitohs are the sort of origin players to avoid. Anyone else? Don't think so. Just looking at maybe the Hammer. You know, the Dolphins. He's going to miss 2 games that they'll be playing. So yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know where he sits in the scheme of things. He can play Origin and should be there, but who knows where exactly. And then fullbacks. So I guess even though I'm holding in, the obvious one is Turbo, just because he's not playing 13-16. Um, guess we'll throw Teddy in this conversation as well. Guaranteed to be playing for New South Wales. So probably one you can just wait on until post Origin, see how he pulls up. And yeah, so a bit of a scattered approach to this, but just thought I'd share my thoughts on buy planning. The headline, of course, being it's not the biggest stress, but if you are looking for some targets, these are the guys, particularly early on, these guys here. Later on, you can swing some of those picks to these sort of guys, and also some avoids. But if you've got any thoughts on players that you'd be keen on picking or avoiding, feel free to comment. Or got an absolute flyer of a pick, maybe Tafaro for example. Get him in the chat. Um, yeah, if you enjoy this sort of stuff, feel free to give it a like. Make it, we can talk about some more of these more strategic type things in the future. Um, yeah, subscribe to the channel to obviously get all the updates when all the other videos come out, that sort of thing. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.